I believe that VeChain's primary native token called VET is a hidden gem. Now, some people may cringe at that because they're like, well, what do you mean by that, man? It's definitely not a micro cap. It's on a small cap. It's one of the biggest projects out there. What do you mean? Now, here's what I mean. The way I take a look at it is that it's big enough to the point that it's not so risky for me because, again, it's not a micro cap. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, it's not a dinosaur. It's not like a Bitcoin. It's not like an Ethereum. It's not like a Solana or a BNB that can't do, let's say, over 20x during this bull run, hypothetically speaking. Now, even though nothing I say is financial advice nor a guarantee, we got to take this into consideration. VET going to the price of $1, that right there is around 850x from here. So you got to think about that, right? That's still pretty impressive. Some people may not think that way because they automatically assume that, if it's not like a 1000x, it's caca. If it's not a 100x minimum, that's trash. But I disagree. I'll still think that this is very impressive. Now, not to mention, right, the market cap at that point wouldn't be too crazy either. Considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $80 billion, so it's not that insane. And again, we've seen Dogecoin reach over 80 billion. We've seen BNB, reach over $100 billion in market cap. And come on, right, BNB, you got to think about this. When it comes to the VeChain Thor blockchain, ever since 2018, total of 0 network outages. Now, I'm going to use a little bit of a different example here. But if you take a look at the BNB Smart Chain ecosystem just last year, slightly over 2% of the crypto hacks that happened that year, according to Crypto.com research again, happened on the BNB Smart Chain ecosystem. That's insane to think about. The VeChain Thor blockchain, I think, is way too secure. When you take a look at something like the BNB Smart Chain ecosystem, is it massive? Absolutely. BNB has a lot of fans. Binance is a massive cryptocurrency exchange. So I get that when it comes to BNB. But I think that, again, when it comes to VeChain Thor, it's just a lot more dynamic. So again, as I say all of this, I think that VET going to the price of $1 isn't crazy. And it's in this unique position where, again, it's a very well-established project with an amazing community, with a good fan base. But then at the same time, it's not too small where it's risky or not too big either where the room for growth is caca. So I really like that. I think it's a hidden gem. I think it's kind of like within that space of like an Algorand or like, for instance, a Cosmos, where it hasn't really achieved that massive status yet, but it still has room to grow. So I really like that, even though it's not like an unknown project by any means. Now, it's also important to take into consideration that the VeChain platform consists of 2 tokens, right? The first being, of course, VET, and that's used to transfer value across the network. You also take a look at something like VeTho, which is used for gas fees, quite essentially. And some people, don't really like VeTho, but I think it does play a very vital role, even though I'm not necessarily bullish on it. Now, keep in mind, they're both, again, used on the VeChain Thor blockchain, which I've already explained how amazing it is. But even besides that point, you take a look at VeChain's partnerships. It's A+. You take a look at, for instance, its partners with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, aka, again, short for PwC, right? You take a look at Deloitte, Walmart China, BMW, H&M, LVMH, aka Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy, the government of Cyprus, and much more. So its partnerships, it's not lacking in that department whatsoever. It's very impressive. Not to mention, you take a look at, it's focused on, generally speaking, the right market. Supply chain management market size, predicted to be worth over $58 billion by 2030, according to Polaris Market Research. And again, VeChain is primarily focused on supply chain management. Some people may think that, okay, this market is too small to be focused on, but it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Sometimes we see projects that are not focused on anything just pump. Take a look at Luna Classic, a project that's pretty much off into the abyss. That's pretty much caca. You take a look at Do Kwon. He ran to Europe, allegedly, and got apprehended there, and then allegedly we don't even know where he is. Now, all of this is alleged again, but still, Luna Classic literally has no future. But then still, even despite that, people pump it for fun. What market is that focused on? You know what I mean? But yeah, even besides that point, you take a look at something also, for instance, like Klima DAO, that found a bottom. You also take a look at, for instance, Litecoin in 2021, absolutely skyrocketed. I mean, Litecoin is kind of caca in my opinion. So as I begin to say all of this, I think it's clearly evident that when it comes to being focused on a market that's too small, sometimes it doesn't matter at all in the world of cryptocurrencies. That's just the way I view it. The space overall is too up and coming for people to really bother about that, especially during a fully fledged bull run. When the FOMO was high, buying pressure, buying volume, people just don't care. We haven't seen that moment yet though, But I think around 6 months, a year from right now, it could be very different. So again, I'm staying patient. Now, is VeChain the most flashy, interesting, or cool project out there? Absolutely not. There's many other meme coins or AI projects that are a lot more flashy. They're a lot cooler. They're a lot more fancy, but it doesn't really matter because even though sometimes people think VeChain is kind of boring, I actually don't mind that because there's beauty and simplicity in my opinion. You know, for instance, I cut my own hair. I like to keep things simple. In my earlier videos, I had somewhat of a hairstyle, but it was just annoying. I had to go to the barber every month. It was just a complete caca show. So yeah, I don't want to do that. I just like to keep things simple. Much like my, investing strategy, I would say it's dollar cost averaging. Anytime I acquire income, I hold, I just wait. That's it, right? Again, I acquire my favorite projects and I just, quite essentially don't really care about it in the short term. And I just wait for it to, reach the levels in which hypothetically I think it could go. So that's really it. It's not like something overly complicated. It doesn't require any type of rocket science, if that makes sense. Now, some people out there, they seem to think that this bull run is going to be bad or something like that, but I just disagree. I mean, when you have over 500 million crypto owners, when there's this much institutional investors and enterprise adoption, when you take a look at the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, I just don't think the bull run's going to be bad at all. Now, is it going to peak like next week? No, I don't think so. But then around 6 months, a year from right now, yeah, I think things could be very different. So all I gotta do is just stay patient. I get it. As of right now, things are kind of boring. It's like watching paint dry. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, okay, whatever. But it is what it is. It's part of the game. You know what I mean? It's like, for instance, when people run a marathon or when they run like, an Ironman or whatever like that, a consequence is probably getting very tired. You know what I mean? So when it comes to, in the world of cryptocurrencies, I get it. There are people out there who day trade, who use leverage, who swing trade. They say, yeah, we made a 69x in 2 hours, whatever the case may be. They could do that. But a lot of my friends who do that, a lot of them don't actually make it, so to speak, right? Because it's very volatile. They predict one way, it goes the other way, they get liquidated, they get stop loss. It's a complete nightmare. So why bother with that? I like to keep things very simple. Again, dollar cost averaging. It's very boring. I understand that. Kind of like watching paint dry to some people, but in my opinion, it is what it is. It's part of the gig, so to speak, right? Part of being an NBA player is that you have to shoot basketballs. It's like, okay, it's basketball, right? You have to play using a basketball. You know what I mean? It's like playing in the NFL and then afraid of getting tackled. It's kind of like part of the thing, so to speak, unless you play like flag football, which who does that? VeChain, just overall, it's a very solid project, amazing team, and also exposure when it comes to VET is pretty good as well. Now, it doesn't necessarily like partner with celebrities or athletes or whatever like that, but it's listed in a bunch of major exchanges. So that's amazing. That's great exposure right there. The reason why Shiba Inu and Dogecoin were so popular is because they were listed pretty much everywhere. So during a fully fledged bull run, they naturally got a lot of attention. So when it comes to VET, I just don't see why that won't be the case as well. Again, during a fully fledged bull run, I think it could be so amazing, but it's just a waiting game at this point, and I'm willing to stay patient because again, VET at the price of $1 during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. I think VeChain is a hidden gem, even though it's not small by any means. I think people oftentimes overlook it. However, I'm not because I'm very bullish on it. And make sure to subscribe if you gained value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.